It's August the 22nd, 2012. I'm Mike Benedetti, and this is 508, a show about Worcester. Today we have two special guests.
Hi, I'm Alfie Westgroves.
And
Hi, I'm Angela Mather-Keel.
thanks for being on the show, ladies. Also on today's show, Brendan Melican.
How's it going, man?
It's going okay, Brendan. How have you been?
Well, very well.
Well, it's been about a month since we had a new show, but we're back in action. I think this is actually show number 199 of 5. What are you reading there?
Los Dinosaurios.
Los Dinosaurios. We should point out that today we're in the HX Library, Worcester's independent library of radical politics and science fiction. In fact, speaking of radical politics and science fiction, the HX needs a copy of Sam Delaney's classic science fiction novel, Dahlgren. If you have a copy of Dahlgren and you're looking to get rid of it, you should bring it here because it would make a lot of people, including myself, very happy because I love that book. I love a lot of Sam Delaney books, but that's the best
This
one.
is a really dated dinosaur book.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't it been determined that like Brontosaurio is actually, we decided that was just a juvenile version of something else? What's that?
Apatosaurus.
Yeah, no, but so there really was no Brontosaurus, right? I mean, and we decided that
They changed the name from Brontosaurus to
because it
Apatosaurus.
encapsulated like two formerly separate species, that like
know
one was
why.
juvenile. of
That's
the
what I
other.
heard.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Well, this is the kind of cutting edge news you're getting. Anything from the last
Sorry.
300 million years on this show, we will bring you up to date. This is a weekly show where we talk about Worcester and what's going on in Worcester. I'm a little bit out of it today. Today we're going to be talking about fires. We're going to be talking about vegan daycare. We're going to be talking about Jose Canseco and panhandling and possibly Liberty Republicans having their keg party busted. We're going to talk about military exercises in Worcester. We're going to talk about state representatives fainting. We're going to talk about pit bulls. We're going to talk about streetscaping, new assistant city manager, Sunshine Week legislation, co-working spaces,
There's no way in hell you can talk about all these
JetBlue,
things.
Worcester Magazine, and art. We're going to talk about some of them.
Some of them.
We're going to talk about some of them.
State
Let's
politics.
talk about what is probably a big thing from the last couple of weeks, which has been a rash of fires in the city. Now, frequently we don't talk about public safety issues on the show just because we don't have a lot to add to talking about public safety issues. But we actually have Kevin on the phone, and Kevin has been really bird dogging this issue of fires. Kevin, how are you doing?
Good.
Kevin Cassen. This is Kevin Cassen right here. Smaller and squarer than you remember. Kevin.
Yes.
What's going on with the fires right now? The situation of figuring out who's lighting all these fires in your neighborhood.
Well, the news today was the police did arrest somebody yesterday that's connected to the fire at the Albion over on Main Street.
Right.
This person was also actually arrested for the fire on Irving Street. So
Right.
There's certainly been a breath of air for folks in the community thinking, okay, this feels good. I think we're all waiting to see to what extent the police can connect this individual to all the other fires.
How many other fires are you and other folks in the Piedmont neighborhood thinking are connected to all of this?
Well, the ones that are similar, that are of equal scale, certainly are the fire at the next door to the Pupuseria on Pleasant Street that started it all for those in the neighborhood to start paying attention, which was a fire that started late at night.
Right.
Somebody lighting a fire in the rear of the building.
How long ago was that one?
That was back in the spring,
Okay.
so it's been a while. And then certainly after that one was the fire that took out several buildings over on Merrick Street. And that one had similar causes of a fire starting in the rear of a building at the 3 o'clock, 4 a.m. kind of time frame, which all lines up.
Right.
And then the other one would be over here back on Pleasant Street, pretty much almost across from where the fire was at the Pupuseria, in an apartment building that's a rope setup, basically. And that one was with mattresses in the stairwell, and that matches the description of what happened both at Irving Street and at the Albion.
Right. So that's how many? Five fires?
I wasn't counting.
5 fires or so? Oh
The
man.
five building fires, and then
Okay.
there had been a rash of over 30 dumpster fires that started this all.
Oh really?
Got us all paying attention to this, and those all were happening again at the same time frame of the 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And some dumpsters being lit on fire 4 and 5 times.
Right.
Both the dumpsters around connected to the asking for the police department to release that video, see if anyone in the community can identify the perpetrator.
And then was there a guy over the weekend who was arrested for trying to throw a Molotov cocktail through somebody's window on Pleasant Street?
Yeah, that was the other one. So on Sunday night, someone wasn't happy with someone and threw a Molotov cocktail through first floor window at 98 Elon Street. Fortunately, the bottle didn't break, and so the fire didn't take off like it would with a normal Molotov. And then someone was arrested relatively quickly right after on Elm Street. So certainly for us as a community, that we've included that in the conversation for us, because here it is, again, fire being used as a way of kind of terrorizing the residents of the neighborhood.
Now, Kevin, you're an activist. Is there stuff that you're trying to get the city to do around this stuff?
Well, I think the first was to try and get the city to acknowledge something. So throughout this, the city has been reticent to acknowledge that there was a person lighting fires. They were stuck in the position of saying, yes, there are fires, yes, there seems to be an uptick, but they weren't willing to acknowledge that there was a person involved.
Right.
Even after the police department had videotape of somebody lighting the fires over on Chandler in the dumpster. So
Right.
It's been frustrating that that reticence within government. I think now we're calling on them to release the mugshot of this individual that was arrested the other day. So the police still aren't releasing the snapshot of the individual that was arrested. We feel that we should be able to.
You're talking about the guy who was arrested. You're talking about for the Albion fire guy.
Yeah. So the police at this point have not released the mugshot.
I think there is a picture of him on the TNG.
Did they?
I saw one on the TNG website. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, that's good. I asked Channel 3 today, and they said they weren't able to get it.
All right. Well, people should check Telegram.com and find out who this guy is.
Channel 3 let their subscription to the Telegram go.
Well, yes, Kevin. You should definitely send them a copy of the TNG or email them and let them know. I want to just throw in a couple words about the fact that there's these rooming houses involved, like the Albion and Irving Street. And I've known many people who lived at the Albion, and a very good friend of mine who lived at Irving Street for a while. And like these SROs, these single room occupancies, these rooming houses are like rough places to live. And I think we can just point fingers a million directions at everybody who's doing everybody who we want to blame about the fact that these are rough places to live. And this is just an issue where I just have sort of a regular dumb liberal opinion of, which is like, it's bad that there's these sort of squalorous places that people live, but it's good that people have a place that they can live where they don't have to pay first and last month's rent, where they can just pay week to week or month to month and have a place which has a reasonable amount of dignity and are reasonably cleanly and, not a lot of security issues or whatever. And that it seems like this is an area which is a need which is housing need which is only being like served by existing places, and as places burn down and as places are torn down, Brendan, you may correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff, that nobody's really like building new SROs or creating new rooming house type situations in the city.
Right, and if you try to, I'm sure you'd find lots of opposition. Unnecessary opposition. It's not like it's easy to get those permitted. Sure.
Yeah. So that is, it's the kind of thing that like it especially worries me whenever there's like risks of places like the Albion or Irving Street burning down, because then that's just a bunch of, like transitional housing that's just lost. This is just not going to come back.
This is a significant concern here in the neighborhood. So certainly there's been other rooming house fires over the years. There's also been rooming houses we've lost that have been turned into something else, even good things. So Friendly House neighborhood that took over a rooming house years back and made it into a family shelter. So that benefited families in that sense, but it took out, whatever it was, 10, 15 rooms out of the rooming house stock for the community. At this point, everyone that had been living at the Irving Street property, lost that room. And we all know that oftentimes in situations like that, it's more than one person living in a rooming house like that. There's doubling up situations, what have you. And the owners of the Pleasant Street property just this week told everyone that was living there that they had to get their stuff out. They weren't going to be allowed back in. So folks had been hoping to be able to go back into that place.
Right.
And just this week we're told, no, we're not letting you back in. So that's a huge number of people. I'm guessing at least 60, if not for people. That there really isn't a place for folks to pick up an alternative housing site easily in the city. So one of the things we are definitely calling on the city manager is to immediately look at what we're going to do about housing these individuals as winter comes.
All right. Well, Kevin, we're going to have to leave it there because we're 10 minutes into the show, and we need to talk about the vegan daycare co-op. Ta-da! So my first question is this a real thing? People are starting a vegan daycare co-op?
We didn't set out to make a vegan daycare co-op,
All right.
but most of our little learners are vegan.
Okay.
Or at least half of them, or that's the way it started. So we decided that, it would make sense to serve food that everyone could eat.
Yeah.
And no other parents objected to it, even the ones that ate meat. And so we ran with it. And actually, we just had our first meeting just a little while ago, and it was great. It's really, really going to happen. It is. We're starting next week, actually, Monday. And there was some discussion about changing the name.
What is the name now?
Taking Turns Childcare Cooperative. We're toying with Hot Mama's Vegan Daycare now. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's Taking Turns Childcare Cooperative.
You're not supposed to give me a hard time. I'm supposed to give you a hard time.
And it's it's just really a wonderful thing. I mean, just to have friends, like we all just felt like instant friends, like-minded people come together who've had the same kind of philosophy on children and raising kids, and it's affordable. It's affordable, quality care. We've taken the notion it takes a village, and just really really just use that.
So tell me about the size and scope of this and how people would get involved in this.
Well, they can contact me directly, and I can give my contact information in a bit, but let's see, each parent donates their time depending on the amount of care they need.
Okay.
And they also pay a monthly membership fee depending on that care. And the highest tier is $150 a month.
Okay.
For a child. With like a donated time or being a volunteer teacher for one day of that week.
Okay. That sounds like a bad deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. What can you tell me? What can you tell me about this project?
This was her idea, really.
This is your idea.
I just ran with it.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, when I was pregnant with my son, maybe, he's a year and a half, so like almost 2 years ago, I was kind of looking for something. Being a single parent, you have that need, and it used to be that the communities take care of the children, and it's just not like that anymore, and you have to pay an arm and a leg for childcare. It's kind of crazy the way we structure things, and I'm glad that something's working its way in where we can help each other out and make life more affordable for everyone and bring our kids together.
That's why I call it childcare like Mom used to make.
I gotta ask you ladies now, the American Dietetic Association and things like that will tell you that raising a kid vegan is perfectly fine. Everybody else that you talk to walking down the street totally disagrees with this. So what has your experience been so far raising children on a vegetarian or a vegan diet?
Worcester has become like such a vegan mecca over this past
That's all. I'll ask you that question after. Why the heck does this happen?
I blame Drew Wilson, but
We blame him for a lot of things.
Yes.
Good. But well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I get more of a hard time from people not from here.
Okay.
Definitely some people, from here, but I'm from Mississippi,
It's probably less vegan than Worcester.
Yes, it's much less.
Okay.
So
maybe it's the contrast then.
So yeah, I mean, just there's this not even pocket now, just the attitudes in Worcester are just so just communal. Everyone's just I see a lot of people just supporting each other and trying to make the community better.
Yeah.
and embracing each other.
Yeah.
And I mean, just like the parents who we have who weren't vegan, you know, they were just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh, but I don't know about vegan cooking. Can you help me? That was the attitude. And I was just like, absolutely. You know, they saw it as a fun challenge.
Yeah. And this is the kind of thing where it seems like you wouldn't have to, your child wouldn't have to be like official certified vegan to be a part of this. If you were just like, you know what, I think if my kid eating like a little bit of a healthier diet one day a week could be a good thing.
Yeah.
And we're not even judging. You know, we're not hating. We're not saying that the other diets aren't healthy.
Vegans are you? You're not judging.
Non-judgmentally. But, you know, we're not saying it's healthier. We're not trying to you know, judge and say what you eat at home is bad. But, you know, let's just create something everyone can partake in because these families have made this choice.
All right.
If that makes sense.
I love this idea. I wish I had children that I could put in this daycare co-op. This is a good idea,
and,
guys.
you know, and it is Worcester. I think that we will be filling a niche, really, a need.
Yeah.
Because I know when my first child, my son, was in daycare, I put him someplace that was vegetarian sensitive, but that was like the best I could do. And I was like, oh, I wish that there was this.
Yeah.
You know, and I never thought of starting this. You know, when Angela had this idea, and this has been done in other communities successfully. I just don't think it's been done in Worcester before, not like this.
I don't think so, no.
So I ran with it because I had a need. I want to keep my job at a nonprofit serving the community, and this is the way I can afford quality care for my 2 children as a single mom.
Oh, I love this idea. I also just love the fact that it sounds so bizarre.
Can we make sure that you get your contact info?
Oh, yes,
sure.
yes. So if people want to get involved with taking turns,
Yes.
how do they talk to you?
They can find me on Facebook.
And your name is Alfie West?
Alfie Westgroves. That's Alfee.
Westgroves.
Yes, Westgroves. You can email me. Actually, Facebook would probably be the best.
All right. Go to Facebook, people.
So yeah, look me up on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show to talk about this. This is awesome. This is awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Brendan, let's just plunge back into the subjects of the week. I'm going to try to talk about all of these in a calm, straightforward manner, and you guys just speak up whenever you're ready to opine. Jose Canseco has left the Worcester Tornadoes.
It's official.
It's official. People who watch the show have known. We thought we had a Jose Canseco on like about a month and a half ago. It was an impersonator, as we later learned. We gave him the key to the city, but we got it back. But he's actually left the Tornadoes, and he's declared bankruptcy. And the Tornadoes themselves seem to be undergoing all kinds of financial difficulty. But the main thing is that Canseco is gone. It's the end of an era.
We thought we were special.
Well, you know what? We're special, whether or not Jose Canseco thinks we're special. Panhandling. The city has been doing its anti-panhandling campaign, its latest anti-panhandling campaign, for about a month. There were 2 prongs of this campaign. One is public outreach and publicity. Don't give money to bums. Don't give money to people who ask you for help. I haven't seen anything regarding this. The one thing that they are doing is, second aspect is, guy with a clipboard going around talking to panhandlers, saying like, hey, what's your story? Can we help you in some way? I feel like the number of panhandlers has dropped in half over the last month.
I am not sure where they're putting them all, but yes, it seems like there are fewer panhandlers. And that guy with the clipboard, I mean, it's like a professional clipboard. He's definitely serious business.
Kevin Cassan, yes.
Stuff.
Yeah, I was actually at the candidates forum this evening, and Councilor Toomey actually compared panhandlers to the youth groups and what have you, and she basically said that she'd like to look at something that required registration of the panhandlers. It's kind of amazing.
Well, yes, and impossible by our understanding of the First Amendment.
Kevin, I know you've been close. I know you've been close to the entire District 15 state rep race. Are you aware of any issue that City Councilor Kate Toomey has taken up that would not require a constitutional amendment to override an existing Supreme Court ruling?
I'm not gonna hear anyone say anything mean about Kate Toomey on this show.
She's taken out a position to the right of Kate Toomey, which has been pretty amazing.
Kate has?
Yeah. Although she said she didn't know what secure communities was. she would like to know more about that.
Well,
She
she's
didn't know
not
what
on
it
this
was.
list. We're not going to talk about her because we don't have that much time. Panhandling. Anyway, I feel like panhandling anecdotally that this has worked, having a guy go around and talk to people.
But, when I worked in marketing, there was always, whenever you had like a weird trend that you couldn't really nail down to any sort of meaningful metrics or analytics, right? We would just use the term seasonality to describe.
Yes.
Is it possible that there's something that's happening that, the number of panhandlers that are visible might be being affected to something unrelated to the creepy guy with the clipboard that nobody can seem to identify?
Definitely possible. I would assume that this is something which is, I totally forget the name of this, but I feel,
Say seasonality.
I don't think it's seasonality. I feel like it's basically, there's a lot of people who are out there panhandling, and if they feel like somebody from the city is like looking over their shoulder, they just don't want to do it. And so, if you're discouraging people just by having somebody say, "Hey, hi, how are you? Do you want to talk about panhandling?" I have nothing wrong with it. I have no objection to that, honestly. So, like, I've been very skeptical and critical of this anti-panhandling campaign so far. Not critical of this one. We'll see if they start putting up big signs saying "Don't help people." I'll be mad. Kevin, we got no time.
The interesting outcome of this, I want to thank Councilor Rivera. So, at council last week, she brought up the fact that we were investing all this time, energy, and money around panhandling, but we as a city have been refusing to look in harm reduction ways or humane ways that people engage in sex work. And so she brought the direct connection between, looking at sex workers and continually just using a police arrest approach rather than looking at that in a way that actually acknowledged people's needs. So
Yes.
I think that she made the direct connection as part of council. I appreciated that.
Well, there is a connection, too, because the creepy guy with the clipboard, as we know, is reporting to the police department, not any sort of social service agency that might be able to deal effectively with people panhandling.
Well, anyway, we're going to keep moving along. So probably the most awesome piece of news of the last month, not awesome, but just bizarre piece of news of the last month, is that a bunch of people was this in the Osgood Bradley building?
Yes.
I guess, which is owned by friend of the show, Brad Wyatt. A bunch of Liberty Republicans.
Is it called the Liberty Clubhouse? Is that what they call
It
it?
might be called the Liberty Clubhouse. Liberty Republicans, some people would put a certain crossover with the Tea Party movement here. They had a thing called the Ron Paul Liberty Love Fest.
Two.
Number two.
The YouTube video says Ron Paul Liberty Love Fest 2.
I don't know. Anyway.
We were not invited to the first one.
The story is that
You
there's
call Brad White your friend. I'm cutting
He's a
him
friend of
loose
the
until I get invited to one of these love
Brad
fests.
White has never. He's offered to buy me beer though in person. That's good enough.
Make sure
I
he's
don't have
buying
to
the
go to
beer,
any
but
kind of
continue with
political
the
event
story.
and
Yeah.
get some beer from him. Anyways, there was a guy wandering around near Union Station, goes up to a cop, says, "Hey, I'm like looking for the Ron Paul Liberty Love Fest." The cop is like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, like this big slamming party that's happening at such and such address." The guy's like, "Well, there used to be a club there, but it's like been shut down for a long time. Show me this party." And the cops go and they find that there's like, according to the paper, up to 100 people having a party, in this whatever floor of the Osgood Bradley building. But the big no-no is they have a bar and they have a price list and they're not licensed to sell liquor. And so a ton of cops come and take away all their liquor. And then a ton of Tea Party people or a ton of Liberty Republicans are sort of like
Outraged.
outraged and vaguely belligerent while drunk, but the cops don't hassle them, don't throw anybody to the ground and bludgeon them. The party is messed up. Nobody is arrested, at least so far, because they can't figure out who the heck is actually organizing this thing. None of the bartenders are arrested. Bizarre situation. We're just going to mention this and keep moving on. This thing about military exercises. The military has... We don't have time. I'm going to cover over your speaker. We don't have time. We don't have time for you, Kevin. We don't have time to talk about anything. I know, it's frustrating. What?
Should I just hang up?
Don't be passive aggressive, man. Give me some love here. We're just gonna go. I'm just gonna run through a couple more things, and then we can come back. Okay? All right. Thanks. All right. We're gonna skip over the military stuff. State Rep Benenda fainted and then was in the hospital for 2 weeks with essentially no mention of this in the newspaper. It's kind of amazing. Is he okay?
He's apparently out of the hospital, and word is he's doing better.
Good deal. The pit bull, the anti-pit bull stuff that we talked about on this show for hours and hours and hours. How much we were mad about this. How much we were mad about Bill Eddy and his dog paranoia. There was a state.
Where's Matt Fox when you need him?
There was don't even bring that up. I don't want to edit this show. There was a state law. There was a state law passed this summer regarding animal control that had the phrase, "No city or town shall regulate dogs in a manner that is specific to breed," which means that all of the breed-specific pit bull and pit bull-like restrictions that the city has dropped are gone. Interesting TNG article talking about how the number of registered pit bulls in the city before the city's ordinance about this was 275. In the first year after this ordinance was passed, it dropped down to 118. More recently, it has dropped down to 70. There's speculation as to how it's dropped from 300 to 70, considering I probably see 70 pit bulls in the... I see 70 pit bulls a month. No question about that.
Some good
70.
afternoons.
The answer is nobody's registering their pit bulls, or they're not calling them pit bulls because they don't want to.
We had like the 6-page form you had to fill out on the show, didn't we?
If we had the 6-page form, we had to fill it on the show. Anyway, somebody wants us to talk about streetscaping. We're not going to talk about streetscaping today. Is there a new assistant city manager?
I have nothing I'm aware of. Maybe. I don't know.
I couldn't find their name. If there is, I couldn't find their name.
Well, congratulations
Facebook
to
me.
whoever
Good job.
won.
Put it on the city website. Sunshine Week. Oh, we have so much confusion around Sunshine Week laws in the city that we could talk about. We're not going to. There's an actual co-working space opening up at 131 Lincoln Street in late August.
You're really excited about this.
I like the idea of co-working. It's called Running Start Worcester. And my people are telling me, like, I don't get the vibe from this co-working space that it's going to be, like, a cool place. But I tell you, I'm going to go down and check it out. Because
when you get down there, can you ask them to, like, do some work on their website? Because I get the same vibe. It seemed kind of... The website's kind of grim. We're
going to go down there, and we're going to see if this is a place where there's a lot of dynamic people. Because I feel like it probably will be. I have to say, whenever the only co-working space we've ever featured on the show is the iHub in Nairobi, which is the big co-working space of East Africa. And when I read about the iHub online, I was like, whatever, this is just like... And whenever I went there, I was like, this is geek heaven. This is perfect. This is the greatest thing in the world.
You didn't invite me for that?
We didn't invite you on that episode. But we will... Today, JetBlue CEO David Barger came to the city. He began a diss war with the city by saying, Worcester feels very JetBlue. How are we going to respond to that, Brendan? This attack.
I think we need another slogan.
Another slogan. Anyway, the story going around now, we should also point out a ton of people in Worcester have been working to try to get JetBlue to have some kind of flights in and out of the Worcester airport. Bill Randall actually had this video competition. It had like dozens and dozens of people put videos on YouTube. I think that this worked very well. Like, he totally leveraged this for a ton of publicity and a ton of like social media outreach around. Please come to Worcester JetBlue. Seems like we're going to have some kind of flights going to Florida. This is like like a weekly flight to Florida or a couple of flights to Florida a week is basically the tiniest step on a long-term vision, which I think eventually involves a lot of flights between JFK and ORH, the Worcester airport, meaning that you could then fly from Worcester to
an actual hub service, yeah.
Nairobi, because you could fly from Worcester to JFK and switch off. And, I mean, you can do that right now because you can drive an hour to Boston.
Does JetBlue go to Nairobi?
I don't know, but you could switch off. You could, drive an hour to Boston, drive an hour to Providence. You can fly to Nairobi right now. And so this would save you an hour. And I think that this idea of is we just need to have some kind of airport. We had airports in there before who've flown to Puerto Rico and Florida, et cetera, or airlines in there before. And I guess the opinion of people is that these airlines were kind of bad airlines, whereas JetBlue is like a well-run airline, relatively. And so, if we can prove to JetBlue that there's a lot of people in Worcester who want to fly out of Worcester, they'll have a bunch of flights out of Worcester.
Sold. I mean, it's not just Worcester, too. It's the county, right? I mean, Worcester County contains a significant portion of the Commonwealth's population.
And some of them live farther than an hour from Providence and Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. That's and the big thing, the competition-wise, is always going to be Logan, too. I mean, there's a lot of people that are excited about increased flight service that probably are young enough to have never actually driven on the central artery, right? I mean, and traffic getting in and out of Boston has changed a lot through the process of the Big Dig. And it's not as painful as it used to be outside of commuter hours. But you're right. I mean, one step at a time. And
yeah. We have 1 minute left. I'm going to talk about a couple more things, and then Kevin can talk. Kevin, can you talk for 1 second and a half about the the Tea Party thing if you want? The other things are that Start on the Street is having an art show at the Davis Gallery, starting tomorrow. This is sort of a Start on the Street oriented art show. Also, Worcester Magazine has had a big staff turnover. Friend of the show, Jeremy Shulkin, and friend of the show, though never has been on the show, editor-in-chief Doreen Manning are out.
She invited us to all of her cool keg parties.
She definitely did. And Brittany Durgan has been the interim editor. I don't know who the editor is going to be at Worcester Magazine. I don't know what's going on with Worcester Magazine, but there it is. We got no time on the show.
It's a good show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you absolutely for coming on.
So little on this show. That's always nice.
We have 10 seconds left.
We're dad friendly too.
Rethink the second name. I think you get a better marketing strategy there. Thanks for watching the show. Bye, guys.